DC on the track, boy. CC on the track, boy. CC on the track, boy.
under your wings. Cover me within your mighty hand. When the oceans rise and thunders roar, I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are king over the flood. I will be still, know you are God. Rest my soul in Christ alone. Know His more in quietness and trust. When the oceans rise and thunders roar, I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are king over the flood, and I will be still and know you are God. I will be still and know you are God. I will be still and know you are God.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
So, hello and good afternoon, studentistas and guests. We welcome you to our webinar series part 1, Mental Health Support, Anxiety, Depression, and Stress. I am Yvonne Ico.
I'm Nicole Berganyo.
And I am Kay Galiste, and we are your hosts for today. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, hello. How are we all doing? Is everyone doing fine? How is everyone coping up despite our current situation? Anyone? Let's ask our other hosts, Nicole and Yvonne. How are you guys doing?
Hi Kay, hi Yvonne, hi studentistas, good afternoon. I hope everyone is doing okay despite the circumstances we are in and also has eaten their lunch. But going back to Kay's question, personally, I am barely coping, but I try my best. I also take it a day at a time. I try to think about the present more than I think about yesterday or tomorrow. And times like these, I think it's important to acknowledge our feelings and not suppress it. If we feel tired, we need to take a rest. If we need someone to talk to, reach out. And let's not be afraid of vulnerability because it's not a sign of weakness. Well, that's pretty much it. How about you, Yvonne?
Correct ka dyan, ate. Actually, all of us are doing what we can naman to cope up despite the current situation. Pero like what our teachers nga always tell us, learning must continue. So we have to still study and today, kaya meron tayong webinar for us to still study. So ayan, Ate
You
Kay.
guys are right. Syempre, despite our current situation, our learning doesn't stop. And that is why we are also here to somehow loosen up and take a rest for a while. So without further ado, let's proceed to our webinar proper.
All right, so good afternoon again. Our speaker is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Psychology from St. Louis University and is currently taking her Master of Arts in Guidance in Benguet State University. She was a former assistant instructor in St. Louis University and is currently one of the student development facilitators of the Center for Counseling and Student Development of our school. She has attended various seminars related to mental health, which makes her an appropriate speaker for our topic today. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our speaker, Ms. Carol Manalo.
Hi guys, good afternoon. Ayan, I will turn off my camera. So hi, good afternoon everyone. Thank you Nicole for that introduction. So also without further ado, I will already be presenting my PowerPoint, no, so that we could already start. Could I ask pala, what's the makeup of your group? How many are first years? How many are second years? Yung mga nasa clinical proper na, ganon?
Hello ma'am. Ma'am, ay majority po ng nandito ngayon sa GMeet and sa YouTube Live is 60% from our freshman batch, yung kaka-enroll lang po this sem, and the other 40% is na-distribute na po siya around sa mga second year, third year, and meron din po mga naka-join na clinical proper po.
Okay. Sige, can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am.
Maayos siya. Buo ba niyo ba siyang nakikita?
Ma'am, hindi po. Nakikita lang namin is yung logo ng University of Baguio.
Okay, for a while, ha, I will
yung
just
building.
yes, I will just be fixing it for a while. Okay, can you see it clearly already?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's start already with our webinar. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. So, okay, just a background, no? As Nicole has mentioned, I am the Student Development Facilitator from the Center for Counseling and Student Development. I actually handle the School of Dentistry, the School of Nursing, and the School of Natural Sciences. So basically, I handle the medical courses. And I am happy that your student body, no, has decided to um, come up with this webinar because in my 4 years in the University of Baguio, this is actually the first time that dentistry has tapped our office for this kind of event. So congratulations to your student body and thank you for um, conducting this kind of webinar. Okay, so to start, let's first have what we call the mental health check-in. Right now, I want to ask everyone, what is the state of your heart? Okay, so as you can see, there are different hearts here with different colors, which corresponds, no, to different meanings. Now, in our chat box, okay, I want you guys to just type in, no, okay, what is the state of your heart now? So, for example, if you feel like you're doing great, you use the heart that is color red. I am okay, choose the one that is orange. For yellow, I'm meh. For green, I am coping. For blue, things are tough, I'm struggling. Purple, I'm having a hard time and wouldn't mind if someone reached out to me. And black, I'm in a bad place right now. So if you're using your laptops, it's okay if you just type in the color. Okay? So I'm gonna check already na our chat box. Okay. Ayan. So nauna na si Mark. Okay, color green. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of green. Yellow. Okay, may purple na din. Okay, let's wait for the others. What is the state of your heart right now? Taking into consideration, of course, the pandemic that is going on, the online classes, everything, just everything that is going on. With everything, what is the state of your heart? Okay, so meron tayong blue. However, most no are green, which is a good sign because it shows yun nga, you guys are coping. Sige, meron pang mga iba. Purple. Okay. So it's good to know, no, that most of you have, or the state of your hearts are coping. Sige, let's wait for the others kasi marami pang nag-join. Para makita natin, for School of Dentistry, kamusta kaya ang mga estudyante? Okay, so another blue, yellow, green. Okay, yellow. Mga yellow tayong nakikita. Okay, I think that's it, no? So, most of dentistry students, nasa ano tayo? Yellow, green, blue, and purple. So, yung purple, konti rin lang eh. Basically, it's in the middle. So, ayan, I'm medyo unsure siguro if they are okay or they are not, parang nasa in-between siya. Most of you are coping, which I am happy to hear about. And then, for others, things are tough and you feel like you are struggling. Yeah, I do get why you are struggling. And there were a few people who mentioned or who chose the Purple Heart wherein they wouldn't mind if someone reached out to them. Okay. Sige. So the reason, again, yeah, the reason that I let you do this is for me to see, okay, how dentistry students are doing. Aside from that, whatever you are going to tell me today, I will be mentioning to your speaker for the webinar part 2 because she will be talking about more of the coping side of mental health. For me, for this afternoon, I will be talking more about the technicalities. So, we will be looking at what mental health is, the most common emotional challenges that we have been experiencing, also with psychological experiences. So not only emotional, but we will also be looking at psychological experiences. So let's start. What is mental health? Basically, mental health is a state of well-being wherein a person can realize his or her own abilities, can cope with normal stresses of life, and can work productively, no? And then when this person is able to do these three, of course, that person is now able to make a contribution to his or her community. Basically, when we look at it holistically, this is related to how we think, how we emote, how we interact with each other, even earn a living and enjoy life. So this is the longer definition of mental health. However, in the simplest form, basically, mental health is having three things. It's having good thoughts, good feelings, and good actions. Now, when you put together these three, if you have good thoughts, if you have good feelings, and you have good actions, that means that you have a good mental health. So again, good thoughts, good feelings, and good actions. Ayan. Parang a healthy mind and a healthy heart will of course produce positive actions. Okay, so lately, a lot of things has been going on and all of us are affected. So let's look at the timeline of 2020. What has been happening for the previous months? So during late January, news about COVID-19 started coming in. So we were starting to hear about what COVID-19 was, or um, the news contained no already uh, news about COVID-19 starting in China, ganyan. And then however, during that time, we weren't still aware of what what it was to bring. We still weren't aware of the effect that it would have on us. And then come February 2020, there were already a lot of unknown. So people started questioning, what is this COVID-19? Okay, what is happening in China? How do we deal this? How do we deal with this? Okay, there were already a lot of headlines about it as compared to January. And then come March 2020, here in the Philippines, we had the first local transmission, which eventually resulted in lockdowns. In Baguio City, no, I think that was around March. I'm not, I can't remember the exact date. Okay. However, in University of Baguio, we had to cancel classes, and for us, even us, no, employees, we weren't sure. Is this cancellation of classes going to be just 1 week? We didn't expect it to go, last for how many months. Okay, and eventually, for you students, I know that some of you had to go home without getting all of your things because for you guys, you also didn't know how long will this suspension of classes take place. And then come April 2020, the online classes was introduced, so you had to adjust to how it is online. So parang that time pa lang, okay, you had to adjust already with something that is new. Okay, and for those students who were having their clinics, it was cut short, not only in your course, no, even for other courses such as natural sciences, yung mga PT, yung mga medtech, they were all pulled out from hospitals, no? Even yung mga engineering courses, IT courses, uh, HRM, HTM, all of those, no, um, were affected. And then, of course, there's still the extension of ECQ, so we still couldn't go out. However, come May 2020, medyo nag-ease up na yung restrictions, so we had GCQ. By June, of course, there's already talked about the continuation of online classes. A lot of students were also protesting, no, academic freeze during that time. And then for July, no, still the same online classes, and then there was the move towards the new normal. I think it was around this time that I was able to also talk to your dean. We were talking about how it is gonna go for the dentistry students, um, especially for those who were having their clinics already. Okay, but during this time, we already had a plan on how to do it. And then, of course, from August 2020 until present, we still have online class. There are still some places that are undergoing lockdowns. However, there's already some ease. And then we are trying to live towards this new normal. Of course, this new normal, it didn't just affect uh, the health, no, of people. However, it also affected the economy, no. It affected the educational sector as well. So, for this timeline, of course, there was a lot of emotional challenges for all of us, which I will be talking about today. But before we go there, our researchers have actually said that COVID-19 will bring about three waves, okay? We have already been experiencing the physical health crisis, which is considered the wave one. Now, this wave one, of course, we saw this when it comes to the people who are affected by the COVID-19, our frontliners as well. And then the wave two is the economic crisis. Of course, um, with everything that is happening, it also affected greatly our economy, especially those places wherein they they thrive for yung mga tourists, right? Like Baguio, ganyan. Now, it doesn't just end there. Researchers are saying that there is a wave three, which is a mental health crisis. Now, in the long run, they see that the cases of depression, the cases of anxiety among people, not just among youth, no, but among even among adults. So it's a general age group that the number of people who will be affected, no, will greatly increase in the coming months, in the coming years, which is actually starting already. A lot of people during the start of the ECQ, the start of the lockdowns, they really experience a lot of mental health crisis. That's why I am grateful for your student body for coming up with this activity. Okay. Basically, uh, during the time, no, the timeline a while ago, these are the emotional challenges that people have been feeling. So we will be talking about boredom, uncertainty, stress, anxiety, and depression. However, these concepts are not new. For these concepts, of course, it has been there for a long period of time already. However, yun nga, mas lalo siyang lumalabas ngayon. So let's start with boredom. Okay, for boredom, of course, we had no choice but to stay at home. Okay, we cannot go out already. Basically, our lives change. That is why a lot of people felt bored. Of course, especially those people who are used to going out, those who are used to meeting with their friends, or you know, having their activities outside or with other people, they started experiencing boredom. Now, this boredom has turned into what we call the cabin fever. The cabin fever is the distressing claustrophobic irritability or restlessness experienced when a person or group is stuck in an isolated location or in confined quarters for an extended time. Basically, a lot of people felt this since we cannot go out, right? During the start of the ECQ, we cannot go out. There's this feeling na parang biglang lumiliit, no, yung bahay nyo, or parang yung walls nyo, suddenly they felt too close. Okay, I'm not sure, no, if some of you have experienced this, but if there's a word for it, no, feeling nyo na-experience, so hindi nyo lang alam kung ano yung term, this is actually what we call the cabin fever. Okay. Aside from, now, because of this boredom, of course, as Filipinos, we try to look for ways in order to entertain ourselves. That's why, during the ACQ, if you have noticed, there is what we call already the quarantine trend. Okay? what are these quarantine trends? Okay, it started with, ayan, yung TikTok, right? Yung mga Dalgona coffee, COD. A lot of people actually that time, no, nag-online shopping. Tapos, madami ding naging plantita, plantito. There was also the game Animal Crossing. A lot of people tried baking. Okay. For others, no, since they are so bored, as some of them would color their hair. Not only color their hair, but also cut their own hair or cut the hair of their family members. There was also the quarantine fashion, yung pangbahay na fashion, okay? Of course, there were a lot of quarantine food trends, right? If you are aware of yung ube cheese, na pandesal, dalgona, this is a burnt cheesecake, sushi bake, yung mga cold brew cookies. So, as Filipinos, this is good. O, di ba? Yummers. Sana nag-lunch kayo, ah. Baka mamaya may mga nagugutom. Or you can eat naman. You could eat while this webinar is ongoing. It's okay with me. Okay? So, I think, no, for you guys, for students, for our students, we saw a lot, no, that really tried, I guess, most of this. Okay? Now, this is the effect of the boredom. Now, the good thing here is, of course, some people turn this into a business. Okay? Ang dami niyong makikita na um, mga nagbebenta sa Facebook. For me nga, parang I had a lot of friends who were already selling, no, a lot of food. So you had to try, no, you had to try. For example, bibili ka muna kay friend 1, di ba? Tapos syempre baka magtampo si friend 2, so you have to buy as well. So something like that. So there. Okay. Yes, tama yan. Yung support small businesses, tsaka yung support local. Diba? Yun yung mga naging hashtags or yun yung mga naging trends during the previous months. Even until now naman, okay, we are still trying to recover from the economic crisis. That's why let's support local and small businesses. So aside from boredom, of course, um, especially for those people who either had to shift to work from home or those students who had to shift naman to online classes, a lot of people has experienced stress. Now, when we are going to try to define stress, according to Smith and Segal, it's actually a normal physical response to events that make you feel threatened on your current situation. So, of course, during that time, especially yung months ng June and July, we had a lot of counselees coming, we had a lot of online requests for counseling because they were already stressed with online classes nung short term, so they weren't sure if they were going to continue nung first sem. Actually, even now, we still have some students who are still adjusting to the to the online classes. For us also, no, in our office, we also experience stress due to sudden work from home. Okay? Uh, Lately, no, napagkukwentuhan namin our experiences during the work from home. And then that's when we realized that all of us experience stress. It's just that we experience it in a different way, which I am going to show you. Okay. But did you know that there are actually two kinds of stress? Stress can either be eustress or distress. Eustress is a positive form of stress, while distress is negative. So, diba, meron palang positive kind of stress. Now, when we say it's a positive kind of stress, it is perceived as within our coping abilities. It actually motivates us and it helps us focus our energy. It makes us feel excited and it improves our performance. An example of a positive kind of stress is when, let's say, a challenging project that you actually enjoy doing. So, um, for example, you're into arts. Okay? And then you had a project that would require a lot of creativity. So of course it's stressful because it's gonna maybe it's gonna take some time. However, since you like arts, you feel excited. You look forward to actually doing this kind of activity. Or you have a favorite subject and then you have a let's say you have a quiz or an exam. However, it's your favorite subject. You enjoy the subject matter. Um, you enjoy reviewing the uh, the topics under that subject. Then that's a kind of eustress. For this stress, it's the negative kind of stress, and it is perceived as outside our coping ability. Um, Sometimes, no, or most of the time, this causes anxiety or concern. It feels unpleasant and it decreases performance. For example, you are not the kind of person who likes talking in front of a lot of people. Now you have a public speaking class, and one of your requirements is to talk, no, in front of a class or to video yourself since it's online already. To take a video of yourself having a speech. Now, since it's a fear of yours, no, it can or it may decrease your performance, and you may really feel this feels unpleasant for you. The act of uh, talking, no, in front of a lot of people, it's not a good experience, and it causes anxiety. So that is the difference of eustress and de-stress. Okay. So there was a study done, I think this was in 2017, by UP Los Baños. So they tried to look at the stress source and the stress responses of Filipino college students. So um, they tried to see, what are the top causes of stress for Filipino college students. Sorry, I didn't edit this anymore. This is the top 10. Okay? Now, the first one is academics, so basically the difficulty of subject matter. The second is workload. Third, time management. Fourth, responsibilities due to being one's own. These are for students who are not or who are living away from their families. So, since they have to be independent, that for them is stressful. This includes doing their laundry, buying food, or cooking their food, budgeting their expenses. The fifth is financial problems. Sixth, extracurricular activities. The seventh is parental pressure. The eighth is after graduation plan. So, what am I gonna do now? And then the ninth is workload. This kind of workload is the one that is for extracurricular activities such as organizations. In UP kasi they have fraternities and sororities. And the 10th is peer relationships. Now, I asked your student body to actually have a short survey, no, for dentistry students. Tingnan naman natin, ano kaya ang mga stressors ng ating dentistry students. Now, I have collated it and then I'm gonna present to you the results. No, I guess some of you have also answered this um, survey. So this is the results. Okay, the ones highlighted in purple, the light purple one, are actually the ones that are severely stressful for you guys. So let's look at academic factors. So for you, these are the following that are stressful. So amount of assigned work, full loaded day, examination and grades, and the fear of being unable to catch up if getting behind with work. Okay? Ang pinakamaraming sumagot, ito, letter G. 161, that is 62.6%, the fear of unable to catch up if getting behind work. But if we look at the stress due to clinical factors, mas madami, no? Okay, amount of assigned work, full loaded day, competition with batchmates, completion of clinical or pre-clinical assignments in time, lack of confidence in clinical decision making, shortage of allocated time to complete clinical procedures. Halos lahat. Close nga itong si difficulty in learning clinical or preclinical procedures is moderately stressful. Okay. Next, stress associated with instructors na happy ako na konti lang. However, pagtingin ko naman, it's differences in opinion between staff members regarding clinical or preclinical procedures. Okay, tapos stress about the future lahat. So fear of not having the possibility to pursue a postgraduate program. So I guess most of those who answered this part wants to have further learning after graduation. Fear of unemployment after graduation, lack of confidence to be a successful dentist. Okay, and then the last, personal stress, lahat ay severely stressful. So we have lack of time for relaxation, staying away from family. I'm not sure itong staying away from family because di ba during the lockdown, we had most of us or most of the students had to go home. Okay? So I'm not sure kung bakit pati si staying away from family kasama dito. Unless when you were taking this survey, you were thinking about during the time you were here at Baguio, if you are not from Baguio. Okay, lack of comfortable atmosphere in living quarters, fear of failing a course or year, fear of facing parents after failure, financial resources, and personal health. So basing on this survey, actually na-bother ako because, ayan, ang daming factors that are making students stressed. And when I saw this, no, I thought that maybe, hopefully, this won't be the last webinar that we will be having for our dentistry students because it's difficult to target all of these stressors, no? All of your stressors in just one or two webinars. Okay, so hopefully magkaroon pa tayo for next semester. Okay? Ayan, yan ang mga stressors ninyo. Okay. Now, because of this stress, I didn't get already the verbatim comments no, that you have already placed because some of them are actually falling already in this, um, what do you call this? In these factors, okay? Parang mas naging specific lang kayo, but rest assured that I saw all of the verbatim comments that you've mentioned during the survey. Okay? And then we will try to do something about it. Yung kayang gawin ng office namin, sige, gagawin namin. Pero syempre, hindi naman lahat ay, or hindi kami ganun ka-powerful. But, we heard you. Okay? Now, when we are stressed, what happens? So this is what we call the stress response. This is our fight or flight reaction to a stressor. However, let's be specific, okay? Ano nga nafe-feel natin kapag tayo ay stressed? There can actually be four. Okay, and the first one is affective. When we are stressed, when we are feeling, our balance, no, internally, okay, is threatened. Sometimes we have emotional responses, and these are some of this. Agitation, yung hindi ka mapakali, okay? You don't know what to do, there's a lot of things going on in your mind, okay? For some, yung agitation, may tingling sa kanilang body, sa kanilang hands that they can't seem to erase, okay, or to remove, parang ganon. For others, they can feel lonely because of all of the things that are happening, they feel lonely. This is sometimes or most of the time experienced by people who likes working with groups. Since sometimes there are activities that you have to do alone, and since you can't do it, you feel like you're alone. Kasi parang walang tumutulong sa'yo, something like that. For others, they feel angry, okay? Some experience mood swings, numbness, anxiety, defensiveness, and others, no, they even feel or they even have nightmares. I'm not sure if some of you have experience na yung bagay na kinaka-stressan or something that you fear of, no? It appears in your dreams, parang ganon. Biglang mamaya kung ano yung hanggang panaginip pa naman, nandun yung bagay na kinaka-stressan mo. Okay, that can be an effective response to stress. Aside from effective, there's also the behavioral aspect. Okay, for behavioral, these are more of our actions. Now, when a person is stressed, sometimes they avoid it. For example, you have a recitation that is already scheduled by your teacher. You fear that you won't be able to get the right answer, so what will you do? You will not attend your class. So you avoided that situation. Next, neglect. This can be neglect of yourself, neglect of your hygiene. For others, they resort to smoking. Si Nelson po. Bakit si Nelson? Andin dito ang hindi po nagpa-brush. Neglect na yan. Okay. The next, poor appearance, especially nung face-to-face ang classes. If you have noticed some of your classmates, no, parang nagbihis lang, tapos pumasok na sa school, ganyan. For others, they overspend. Okay, they binge eat or they binge shop. For others, poor eating behavior. Since they are so stressed, they don't already have the appetite. That's why they have poor eating habits. Others have nail biting, sexual problems, fidgeting, aggressive speaking, lack of sleep, and again, poor hygiene. I think for lack of sleep, common siya among medical courses, which is so sad kasi kayo yung maraming rini-review, okay, and marami rin kayong subjects eh. Kaya as much as possible, sana nakakakuha kayo ng right amount of sleep, pero sadly, yun nga, you are the group na parang konti lang yung sleep na nakukuha. Okay. Aside from that, there are also cognitive responses to stress. So there can be memory problems. This is, for example, yung hindi mo na naaalala yung nangyari sa araw mo because you are so stressed or you are so focused on one thing. There's also that inability to concentrate, poor judgment or poor decision-making skills, seeing only the negatives. You don't, parang you are only concentrated on the bad things that are happening in your life. Anxious or racing thoughts. And there is also the constant worrying. And of course, there are also physiological responses. Most of the time when you are nervous or when you are stressed, you feel an upset stomach. Okay, bigla ang sakit na lang ng tiyan mo. However, after a stressful event has passed, okay ka naman na. There is also a decrease in immune functions. There was a time na I've had a lot of counselors going in, no, for counseling nung pwede pa ang face-to-face. Tapos most of them galing sa clinic. Okay, galing sila sa clinic, no, absent sila. Tapos, either ang sakit nila, ma'am, nagka-fever ako, ganyan, because of tas minsan hindi mo makikita ano kaya yung reason. You know, sometimes that can be because of stress. Since you are not able to take care of yourself already, your immune functions are going down. Kaya aside from that, headache, marami yung afternoon class nila, no, by 8 o'clock. Kasi dati, di ba, you are until 8 p.m. You know, ang sakit na ng ulo. So, difficulty breathing, constipation. Others might experience either weight loss or weight gain, low energy, nausea. This is also common, becoming common. Yung kapag nasa-stress, nasusuka. Sweating, chest pain, and even high blood pressure. So, of course, these are just some. There are also others that may not be or may not have been included here. Okay. Now for this one, I have only discussed no what is stress, what are the different stressors, no, yung mga stressors ninyo, the stress responses. However, for the part wherein you can now cope with stress, that will be discussed during the second webinar. So I have mentioned to your speaker if she may add something on stress management. So she will be talking about that next Saturday. Okay. Now, are you guys still okay? Okay pa ba kayo? I'll look at the chat. Yes. Okay, so most of you are still okay. Now, the next topics I will be discussing are more on depression and already anxiety. So, what I will be talking about is, of course, what they are, and then the symptoms. Okay. However, I have a note because uh, right now it can be easy to just look at the symptoms and say I have this. Okay, that is what we call self-diagnosing, but my note on that is don't. I ask you not to self-diagnose yourself, okay, during this webinar. If you feel like, hey, I am feeling some of these things that mom is discussing, okay, you talk to me after, okay? Or do not say already that, do not say na, ma'am, I'm depressed after seeing what you have discussed, or I have anxiety after seeing what you have discussed. Okay, so again, I ask you guys not to self-diagnose when I will now be presenting to you the different symptoms of depression and anxiety. Okay. Guys, do you need a break muna before I discuss these two topics? Kahit health break, tea break, ganon?
Sure po, ma'am. I think we can do that po.
Okay. So, at least how many minutes kaya? Is 5 to 10 minutes okay with you guys?
Yes, ma'am. Okay lang din po.
Oh, sige. So, for 5 to 10 minutes, let's have a break muna so that you could stretch kasi hindi rin maganda na tayo ay nakaupo buong araw. Okay? So, let's, muna. Yun ha, do not leave na lang muna this chat room or you just go back later on. Okay? So, let's have a short break muna.
Okay, everyone, while we're having a short break, let's listen to a music muna. Unat-unat muna po tayo.
Hi, guys!
Hello everyone. Andito pa po tayo. Hi.
Hello! Kamusta kayo?
Mabuti.
Ayun. So, before we return dun sa webinar natin with Ma'am Carol, do you have any questions so far? You could chat it sa chat box or you could turn on your mic. Naririnig naman kayo ni Ma'am Carol, so you could ask her questions if you would like.
We'll be having a Q&A po pala after ng session with Ma'am Carol. So we might as well save our question first. So let's call again Ma'am Carol.
Okay, hi again, guys. So let us continue with our webinar. Okay, so as I was saying a while ago, no, before we had our break, we were talking about this. Again, now I will be talking about the topics on depression and anxiety. But before that, again, kindly do not self-diagnose when you see the symptoms. If ever you feel like you have it, you talk to me later on, okay? So now let us talk about anxiety. Now, anxiety, this has been there no, for a long period of time already. However, lately, given the COVID-19 pandemic, this has been heightened. But when we're going to talk about normal anxiety, no, anxiety in general, this is actually just a normal reaction to stress and can be beneficial in some situations. So it can alert us to dangers and help us prepare and pay attention. So for example, during natural disasters, okay, this sort of anxiety can of course um, help us go to somewhere, somewhere that is safe. Now, anxiety can often be accompanied by physical symptoms such as raised heart rate, clenching of muscles, breathing more quickly, sweating, and even an increased alertness. Okay. Most of the time, anxiety is future oriented because sometimes we fear, the future. That's why, or we fear something that is going to happen in the future. Now, anxiety brings about our fight or flight response. So this is the same with stress. So it heighten so our fight or flight response is heightened. Therefore, it can help our body get ready for action and can even increase our stamina and performance. Now, in our chat box, I like you guys to give me some situations which gives you anxiety. Ano kaya itong mga everyday situations that gives us, the feeling of anxiety? Okay. What are those situations? There are none. Ayan, deadlines. Graded recitation pero hindi ka nakapagbasa, okay? Oh, feeling of not being enough, okay? What else? This can be school related. This can also be, just a general thing. So fail grades, waking up late, you have 30 minutes until your exams end. Ay, nag-order sa McDo, fear of loss. Yes, even those situations, no, yung kahit the task of, ang tawag dito, yung mag-order ka sa isang restaurant, sa isang fast food, no? For other people, it can bring about anxiety. Even, I've talked to someone before, no? Even yung pagpara sa jeep, that brings anxiety for that person. You know, anxiety can, the situations that bring about anxiety can vary from um, people. So, for example, something that induces anxiety in me may not necessarily bring anxiety to other people. So, tama yung kanina nag-chat, no? Even yung, kunwari may tumawag, tapos unknown number, um, that can bring about anxiety. Or for example, just calls in general, na pwede namang i-text eh, bakit yung mga ganun? Okay? That can bring anxiety. So now, how will we know if anxiety is still normal or if it's still or it's already a disorder? Okay. So I got this from Blessing Manifesting. Okay. We are gonna see, okay, when is it just a normal feeling of anxiety and when is it already an anxiety disorder? So as I have mentioned a while ago, anxiety is a normal reaction to stress or difficult times. Now, this can be triggered by a specific stressor. So, you have been telling me, no, these stressors already. Yung mga minimension nyo, those are specific stressors. Okay, miski yung kanina, yung kaka-chat, ikaw daw yung na-assign na leader, tama ba? Now, for a normal type of anxiety, it has a start and an ending point. Meaning, for example, the start is of course when the anxiety-inducing situation is presented to you. And if, for example, natapos na yung situation na yon, of course, your anxiety has already ended. Okay? Now, this sometimes anxiety can be helpful or motivational. We actually have a term for it. It's called the optimal level of anxiety. The optimal level is anxiety. Ito yung tamang anxiety lang. If you are aware of a learning curve, yung image ng learning curve, um, pag yung mga nag-stat sa inyo, I'm sure you have that during your research. The highest peak there, that is where you experience the optimal level of anxiety. So, it's just the right amount that motivates you without um, stopping you, without making you feel like you're freezing already, parang ganon. It lessens significantly or disappears away from a stressful situation. Meaning, if you are away from that situation or from, let's say, that person or from that place, mawawala yung anxiety ninyo. Relaxing often helps you feel better. So if you have some relaxing techniques, if you are anxious, no, that helps. And this is a response to toxic situations. Now, it becomes an anxiety disorder if it often comes out of nowhere. There's just no reason for it. Okay? And then it's intense or disproportionate emotional response. So you feel it intensely. It's also ongoing. It can last weeks or months without any reason, without any trigger, without any stressor. And it can come to the point that it interferes with your day-to-day life, meaning you cannot already function how you function normally. So there are physical symptoms such as sweating, trembling, lightheadedness, and racing heart, and it feels impossible to control or manage. Okay, specifically, okay, here, let's look at another comparison. So this is from a research. We will compare normal anxiety with generalized anxiety disorder or GAD. This is the most common type of anxiety disorder. I will be showing to you later on the different types. So normal anxiety, again, you worry about a specific event. So there is a specific stressor, such as a deadline, an exam. Even a doctor's appointment can bring about anxiety. So sometimes you can have difficulty relaxing or even sleeping or concentrating when faced with a serious problem, for example, an illness, a job loss, a death of a loved one. So these are some physical reactions to anxiety: muscle aches, tension, tiredness related to an activity or situation, such as an overexertion at the gym, a stressful day at work, or sitting too long at a computer. So parang ganun yung feeling. So when you are already diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, this is what it looks like. So there's a constant chronic and unsubstantiated worry causing significant stress. So the worry is now the one that is causing stress. It's disrupting social activities. It is already interfering with school, with work, or even with your relationships, such as your family, your friendships. You can feel edginess, irritability, insomnia, difficulty concentrating more days than not for no apparent reason. You can also feel restlessness, muscle aches, pain, fatigue, which are not related to any specific physical or emotional problem. So this is persisting for 6 months or more. So for normal anxiety, it comes and go. For an anxiety disorder, it persists for a long period of time. So aside from generalized anxiety disorder, we have the following anxiety disorder. So hindi lang po siya iisa. There is panic disorder, which is characterized by panic attacks. Agoraphobia, this is the fear of being in a situation or being in a place wherein you cannot escape, or maybe you have a specific phobia. Social anxiety disorder, this is the fear of being in a place, no, or um, specifically when you are in a crowded place or there are even just a few, hindi nga lang crowded eh, basta may tao. Tapos you feel like you are going to embarrass yourself, you're going to make a fool out of yourself, you know. Selective mutism is also an anxiety disorder, but this is more common in children rather than adults. And then, of course, generalized anxiety disorder. This is an anxiety disorder wherein there is no trigger and you don't have any specific trigger. Okay, separation anxiety disorder. You fear separation from a person you have an attachment to. So I won't be discussing this in detail because for you to discuss this in detail, 1 hour, no, or 2 hours is not enough. Okay, talagang i-enroll mo yung subject, parang gano'n. Okay, any questions for anxiety, or rather you save na lang your questions later on. The next one I am going to discuss is depression. Now, depression is the most common mental disorder, yes. According to World Health Organization, this is more common in teenagers, no? Or specifically those 18 and above. Okay, this is characterized by persistent sadness and loss of interest in activities that you normally enjoy. Okay, it is accompanied by inability to carry out daily activities. So you already know that it's a disorder if, parang yung kay anxiety kanina, it disrupts, no, your normal. Okay, you now cannot do the things that you normally do. For anxiety, makikita nyo kanina, di ba, 6 months or more. For depression kasi, at least 2 weeks that this is persisting, plus the symptoms that I am going to discuss next. So, the characteristics of depression, first of all, the quality of mood is a depressed mood. So, it is a mood that is lower than normal. This is feeling unhappy, downhearted, bummed, blue, or many other terms expressing sadness. So you feel a depressed mood, a down mood for at least 2 weeks. This is continuous. Hindi yung, for example, I feel sad today, I'm okay for 3 days. tapos sad ulit, and then the rest of the week you're okay, we cannot consider that as depressed mood. Again, it's persisting and at least every day. It happens at least every day. There is also loss of interest or pleasure. You are less interested in your hobbies. I've had students before, I've talked to students before that, for example, mahilig silang magsulat. They write poems, they write stories, and then suddenly they don't like anymore. Okay, that is what we mean by this. You just don't care anymore. So, not feeling any enjoyment in activities that were previously considered pleasurable. Especially if that activity, you have been doing it for a long period of time. Okay? Hindi yung, for example, it's a new hobby, tapos biglang na-bore ka lang. Hindi ganun ha. Something that you have enjoyed for a long period of time. Aside from that, social withdrawal. For example, meeting with friends is not already parang making you happy, okay? Or you don't like talking to other people anymore. So you're not interested with your friends or even your family members already. So again, the duration, ayan, almost every day for at least 2 weeks. Okay, so generally, again, depressed mood plus loss of interest or pleasure for 2 weeks, yun yung general. Pero meron pang mga ibang symptoms na dapat kasama siya. So parang hindi lang dapat nawawala si loss of interest at saka si depressed mood. So the other symptoms of depression, okay, kailangan meron pang 5 sa i-discuss ko. So, depressed mood plus loss of interest plus 5 more. So, ito siya. First, appetite change. Either it can be a loss or a gain, significant weight loss or weight gain. It can be that a person who is depressed can either look like there's really no, yun pala ha, sorry, I didn't discuss it a while ago. Walang itsura ang taong depressed. So you cannot just look at the person and say, hey, since mukha siyang sad, yun ang depressed. Or when you see someone smiling, hindi naman siya depressed. But in reality, that person is depressed. We really cannot say just by looking at a person. Kasi tulad nito, depression brings about appetite change. So there can be a decrease or increase in appetite. Some people, they force themselves to eat because they have no appetite. For others, they may eat more and crave specific food, mostly sweets or carbohydrates, because it may bring about yung happy hormones. Okay? The next is sleep disturbance. Other people may have insomnia or hypersomnia. Kapag insomnia, this is difficulty sleeping. Hypersomnia naman is sleeping excessively. So it can either be a person, madaling araw na natutulog kasi nga hindi makatulog or nag-oversleep siya. Pero ang common trend is the difficulty sleeping. Next is energy loss or fatigue. You always feel tired. Even small talks seem to require substantial effort. Efficiency of tasks may be reduced. Diba? Parang simple assignments, it feels like you require or it requires a lot of effort. And there are also psychomotor changes. So there can be 2 again, either agitation or retardation. When we say agitation, again, this is the inability to sit still, hindi mapakali. There's a lot of pacing, hand-wringing, pulling or rubbing of skin, clothing, or other objects. I've talked to someone before, she was experiencing agitation. Parang may feeling daw na makate inside of your skin. Okay? Or the feeling that something is crawling inside of your skin. So, aside from pulling or rubbing of skin, yung scratching, no? They also resort to that. And the opposite of that is retardation. So there's slowed speech, thinking, and body movement. There are also increased pauses before answering. Yung mabagal magsalita. Okay. Not only when it comes to the speed, but also in the volume. Since they experience fatigue, even speaking requires a lot of effort. That's why there is a decrease in volume. Okay. To the point that some people would even resort to muteness. They won't talk already. Okay? Kasi nga, they feel tired. Okay? They don't have the energy to even talk. For some, there is also the feeling of guilt or low self-esteem. So they feel worthless, or there's that feeling na why am I feeling this way? Especially for those people na, for example, no, why am I feeling this way? My family is okay, the people around me are okay, my life is okay, but why am I like this? Yun yung common script sa mga people who are diagnosed with depression. There's also that unrealistic negative evaluation of one's worth. Okay, they only look at the negative things about themselves. They always ruminate. When we say ruminate, they always go over. They cannot move on from minor past feelings. They always think of that. Okay, sometimes they may also misinterpret neutral or trivial day-to-day events as evidence of personal defects and have an exaggerated sense of responsibility for untoward events. For example, there was an activity or there was an event that is an unexpected event na negative. Feeling nila kasalanan nila kahit hindi naman nila kasalanan. So again, inappropriate amount of guilt. For some, this is not for everyone, there is also the thoughts of death. So recurrent thoughts of death. Okay, there can be suicidal ideation. They think of dying pero walang plan. Or for some, there is already a suicide attempt or a specific plan for committing suicide. So again, meron yung iba na wala at all thoughts of death. Meron naman yung iba na they think of dying pero they don't have a plan. And the third, they already have a specific plan in order to commit suicide. Okay? This may range from a passive wish not to be awakened in the morning. Okay, yung parang ayoko na lang magising, no? Or a belief that others would be better off if the individual were dead. Siguro mas masaya yung mga tao, no, kapag wala ako. Okay? Or even, very specific na siya na plan. Okay? So, those are the symptoms of depression. Once again, there is what we call the DSM-5. Just a note, this is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for psychological disorders. So, what I have mentioned are some of the symptoms, but there can be more. For example, anxiety, no? It can comorbid with anxiety. It can also include feeling hopeless, helpless, or worthless. There can be also substance abuse. Now, because they feel some of the symptoms, they will now resort to drinking or even the use of drugs. Kaya meron na siyang substance abuse. That may be part of the symptoms. So again, 5 or more of the symptoms I have talked about, including depressed mood or loss of interest or pleasure for at least 2 weeks. Now, in order to diagnose depression, sometimes, no, they use as a tool, an evaluation tool, okay? It's like a questionnaire, okay? And then you're just gonna answer it, tapos my score, but that is not enough. There is also some observation. There is also an interview, okay? An interview, either the patient plus the family members, okay? And then that is when they can decide, no, is the person depressed or not. That is when the diagnosis okay, will be given. Now, who are the people who can diagnose these disorders? This can only be diagnosed by psychologists or psychiatrists. Now, the difference of these two, we have been asked often, ano bang difference ng psychologist at psychiatrist? For psychologists, they are more of the people who give therapy. So, more of talk therapy, behavioral therapy, ganyan. For psychiatrists, they are the ones who can diagnose, um, no? They can diagnose, they can also or be the one na magre-reseta ng gamot. So if you go to a psychologist, you will expect that it's more of talk therapy. If you go to a psychiatrist, they will give you medicine. Most of the time, they work hand in hand, okay? So that some of the symptoms will be targeted by the medicine, and then some of the symptoms also will be targeted the uh, the talk therapy, okay? So yon. A while ago, I talked about self-diagnosing, okay? Now, the reason why I'm asking you not to self-diagnose is because self-diagnosing your mental illness may lead to trivializing the mental illness or magnifying it, which can be dangerous. Now, I'm gonna explain it in simple terms. It's Let's relate it to your course, to your field, dentistry. Let's say, okay, I want to have braces. Okay? Gusto kong mag-braces. Tapos, instead of going to a dentist, what I will do is make DIY braces. Ano kaya mafe-feel ninyo? As dentistry students, as dentists, di ba? I feel like you will feel na makikringe kayo that someone who has no idea of, you know, the basics of dentistry, you know, the topics in dentistry, will just make their own braces, right? Tapos parang siguro some of you are thinking that ano ba naman yan, kami na nag-aral ng how many years, you know, hindi mo pupuntahan, no, for your braces. But, you know, for you now, okay, for me, for example, di ba, wala naman akong alam tungkol sa braces, tapos gagawa ako ng DIY. You know, that is the same with self-diagnosing. There are appropriate people um, to seek help from. Okay, there are those people who are more knowledgeable to help you. Okay, that's why I hope we avoid saying na, especially if you're not diagnosed naman, I hope you avoid saying na, I'm depressed or I have anxiety. Mas common kasi si depressed, no? Ano ba yan? I feel depressed. Yung mga ganon. Okay, so I hope that we go away from that because there are actually those people who are feeling what it is, no? Who are actually diagnosed with depression, and you don't know the half of the things that they are going through. Now again, if you feel like you have the symptoms, if you feel like, you know, the things that I am talking about, wait, I am feeling this, no? Then you do approach those people, no, that I have mentioned, either a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Now in school, we don't have an in-house psychologist. However, you can go to us at CCSD, no? What we do, for me, no, what I do first is we try to assess the situation of the student, and then after assessing the situation of the student, either we refer it to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or we continue counseling. Ganon. Now, there are some instances that you are first going to a psychiatrist, magagamot muna, okay? Kasi, kailangan munang ma-manage yung symptoms. Because the symptoms are so severe that the thought process of the person is already disrupted, kaya counseling alone will not help. So it's really a holistic a relationship between a counselor in school, a psychologist and a psychiatrist outside of the university. Okay? So again, if you feel like, oo, pero promote ko rin yung office namin. Okay? So if you feel like you need someone to talk to, you just go to our office, no? If you are not here in Baguio, we do online counseling naman. Okay? Now, ayan. I have a reminder for everyone. This is a general reminder. This is not just for those who are experiencing depression and anxiety. It's general because I know that we are all undergoing mental health crisis right now. Okay, so when you see people struggling, I hope that you don't tell people to get over it. You be there and help them get through it instead. Because again, sometimes we just see a facade. Okay, you don't really get to see, okay, the things that a person is actually going through. Okay, again, mental health disorders, they do not have a face. Walang specific na itsura yan. There are people who are depressed that may smile at you, okay, without knowing na, that person is going through something. So, let us also, aside from this reminder, one of the things that I have been telling people lately is to be kind. Okay, to just be kind to everyone around us because again, we don't know the things that the people around us are going through. Okay. So do you have any questions? For the rest of the time, we will be having an open forum na lang. Okay? So, uh, I appreciate it if you have questions. Okay? So, you ask me na, hey, what are your questions so that we can answer it now. We can talk about it now. If, for example, you have questions that are too personal for you to ask, um, you can just, ano na lang, sabihin nyo na lang sa akin. I will be leaving my email address, my UB email address, so that you can send me an email. Okay? So there. Do you have any questions?
Okay, everyone. Ma'am, before we go to the Q&A, we would like to thank you so much po muna, Ma'am Carol. All you have shown, you have presented, and shared with us has been a huge help for everyone. It is very timely, and we really needed a break from our mental health also, and we need to cope up and help ourselves for this pandemic brought out everything from our insides. It is really hard for us, for we are away from our friends, from our instructors, and from school, where the comfort of our learning is placed. So, thank you so much, Ma'am Carol. This is the support we also needed.
Thank you also for inviting me. I highly recommend everyone who's in this webinar right now to also attend your second webinar because, you know, that is where the coping, no, will be talked about. Kaya marami kayong matututunan doon also.
Okay po. Now, studentistas, it's our time. Time to share and ask questions in which Ma'am Carol will answer. So, for your questions and other concerns regarding our topic, you guys can comment them on the chat box here in this meeting and in the chat box in our live session in YouTube. For our participants who are also here inside our Google Meet, you can click the raise hand button so you can ask your question yourself to Ma'am Carol. Anyone? Do we have a questions po? We have question here po, ma'am.
Sige, wait lang. Sorry, I'm using multiple devices kasi.
Sige
For a
po.
while. Asan yun? Okay, what was the question? Wait lang. Ayan, what are the things that we can do or say to a friend who is diagnosed with depression? Actually, no, there's no specific things naman to say, no, specifically to a person who is diagnosed with depression. However, we can always show our support. There are people kasi who are, yun nga, iba-iba kasi pa rin yan. There are people who are depressed who likes talking about it. There are naman those who they're not really that comfortable talking about it. But one thing that you should show is really your support. Okay? You make sure that you make them feel that you are there for them, that you accept them for who they are. That aside from that, you you also make them feel that you can be approached whenever they need someone. So there. For that is for Rio Jane. Yes. Did I answer your question, Rio? I'm sorry, there's really no specific way to do it, but really just showing your support. Okay. Next question. Okay, ito. Kapag po ba ang sudden kayong umiiyak or nalulungkot, depressed na po ba ang tawag doon? Again, when you are just going to consider that one symptom na bigla ka na lang umiiyak or nalulungkot, we cannot automatically say that that is depression. Ivan, of course, there needs to be yung loss of interest or pleasure accompanied by depressed mood, okay, plus five other symptoms that is persisting for 2 weeks. Sorry. So, 2 weeks. Now, kapag ganon, hindi mo pa rin masasabi or hindi mo pa rin pwedeng sabihin na depression yon, kailangan mo munang magpa-diagnose. Okay? So, for the diagnosis, again, you approach those who are qualified to give out a diagnosis. So there, Ivan. Okay, any more questions? Okay, ito. Ano pong mas malala, anxiety or depression? We cannot really quantify, no, na mas malala si anxiety or si depression because they are just the same. The same in a sense na they are both things that parang ganito. Para mong tinanong kung anong mas malala, cancer of the breast or cancer of, let's say, cancer ng iba. Parang ganun kasi siya. We cannot compare these two. Okay? Yes, you're welcome. Ayan. Is depression hereditary? What are the chances that it is genetic and non-environmental? Depression may be hereditary. It can also be non-environmental. It can have no cause at all. Okay? For genetic, especially if it's on the mother side, mas may chance, okay, na mapasa siya. Okay? Or if there is more than one in the family, mas may chance na mapasa siya. However, for the chances that it is genetic or non-environmental, we cannot say because yun nga, there are those people who are diagnosed with depression na wala namang reason. Hindi siya genetic, hindi rin siya environmental. Okay? Ganon. It's still a complicated disorder din kasi. You're welcome. Aside from that, to add pala to the answer, no, for the question of Ella, it is also possible that, for example, ibang klaseng mental disorder yung meron sa family, tapos ikaw or the generations following, iba din. So, iba-ibang klase of mental disorder that can also be a possibility. Okay, next. Question by Keith. Pag po ba nagpa-psych po, okay lang po ba na hindi i-take yung gamot na nireseta? Okay. Keith, correct me if I'm wrong. For example, pumunta ka na sa psychiatrist, tapos binigyan ka ng gamot, tapos hindi mo ininom, ganun ba? Yes. Actually, if it is given to you by the doctor, it means that it will help you. Now, if you are not sure, if you do not like to take in the medicine, then you get a second opinion. However, there are really some times that whatever medicine is given to you, you need to take it so that your symptoms will be managed. I know there are some people who do not like taking medicine. Pero kung yun naman yung nakakatulong sa inyo, I hope that you be more open to the idea. Or if not, you get a second opinion. Okay. Next question by Rio. Is it possible po that being diagnosed with depression actually worsens? Okay. Because I have this best friend in high school that when she was clinically diagnosed, I noticed that her behavior changed. Yes, I forgot to mention, thank you, Rio. There are actually different levels of depression. Meron tayong tinatawag na mild depression, and then meron din tinatawag na severe. Okay? For mild, of course, by the word itself, mild lang yung mga symptoms. Pwedeng wala yung symptoms na self-harm. Okay? Pwede din wala yung symptom na psychotic behavior. Pag sinabi natin psychotic behaviors, these are hallucinations or delusions, yung may mga naririnig na sila na hindi naririnig ng ibang tao or may nakikita sila na hindi naman nakikita ng ibang tao, yun na yung severe. And yes, there is a possibility that one's depression can worsen. Pero no, hindi pa siya nakakontrol po niya. Now, for people who have severe depression, most of the time, they undergo medication plus therapy. So, combination talaga siya to manage the symptoms. Okay, are there any more questions?
Ma'am, may na-message po na question sa amin pero ayaw niyang i-disclose yung name.
Sige, it's okay.
Paano nire-resetahan yung mga taong nagsasuffer ng depression ng antidepressant?
Okay. That actually depends on the symptoms that are presented, how often it is presented, how severe they are also presented. Hindi rin naman kasi basta-basta magre-reseta ng gamot yung mga doktor. For example, there's a person who is presenting symptoms of, let's say, insomnia. Okay? Bibigyan, re-resetahan siya ng gamot na parang it's an antidepressant in a sense that it helps also that person sleep. Okay? And manage yung depressed mood. Okay? There is also yung antipsychotic na gamot, okay, which would manage yung mga agitation, yung mga suicidal behavior, yung mga ganon, or self-harm behavior. So again, it depends on the symptoms that are presented and their severity.
Thank you po.
Okay, you're welcome. In your YouTube stream, are there also questions there? Maybe we could also check it out. Okay, ito. Ma'am, I know po na it's okay to not be okay, pero how can we know if hindi na normal yung pagiging okay, hindi okay? again, going back, hindi na siya normal kapag hindi ka na rin nakakapag-function normally. If you cannot do the things that you would normally do. Especially yung simple acts such as eating, taking a bath, um, yung mga yon kapag hindi na natin nagagawa, tapos napapansin mo that it's already for a long period of time, then maybe you should check yourself already. Okay? Maybe, yun nga, there is something that is going on that is deeper than not just being okay. Okay, for Ivan, what are the ways po on how to cope? Uh, this is a general question ba, Ivan, or should I give like personal example? Because for the coping, that will be discussed once again during the webinar on next Saturday. Okay? Yung topic nyo kasi doon is coping when it comes to mental health. So I hope, Ivan, that you still attend that webinar because it will be discussed there. Yun naman yung magiging topic ninyo.
Ma'am, someone asked po, ano yung pwedeng therapy po sa may diagnose ng bipolar, major depression, and anxiety disorder po?
For the therapy, iba-iba kasi yan. Again, it depends on the situation. It depends on the different factors that are going on in the person's life. Especially if, for example, yung cause niya, kung is it genetic, is it an event, or pwedeng wala, okay? It will depend also on the therapist, no? On the therapist. But some of the type of therapies that are given, meron tayo yung mga talk therapy for children, meron tayong tinatawag na play therapy, yung mga ganon. But specifically, wala kasi na, for example, pag depression, dapat ganito yung type of therapy. Walang ganon, okay? It would really depend on the situation of the person. Okay. Here is another question. Ma'am, can depression actually be cured or does it get reduced and people learn to improve with it? There are people who get over depression, no? They are able to manage naman after a few months, a few years, okay? However, meron tayong tinatawag na recurrent depression. Ang recurrent depression is, for example, for this year, you feel like, hey, I was able to manage everything na, I'm okay. And then suddenly, after 2 years, bumabalik siya. That is what we call recurrent depression. Meron din naman yung persisting depression na, as the word itself says, no, it's persisting. It's really for a long period of time. That's why people, no, those people, they try to really live with it, no? They try to reduce it by changing their lifestyle as well, no? Plus yung therapy or plus yung medication. So there are some people who can improve, no, can learn to improve in dealing with it. Okay. Next question. Ano to? Okay, ito. This is from a YouTube participant. So, hindi daw siya come out, tama? Okay, kung sino talaga siya, dahil takot siya sa judgments, which causes him or her stress. Okay, any advice sana paano makapag-cope? Ito lang ha, if you're really not yourself, if you really cannot be yourself, then of course, you will always be stressed. Okay? Kasi, whoever you are inside, para siyang natatapakan or what do you call this? It's becoming, para siyang nababottle up. Okay? Nababottle up siya. Now, if you're scared of judgments, you're scared of judgments from who? Is this the people outside your circle? Is this your family? Is this your friends? Because if these are the people outside your circle, why are you so worried? When there are people who actually can support you, such as your friends or your family. So my advice, no, or what I can say about that is if you're scared now, maybe you could slowly come out, okay? Wag biglaan because um, that may stress you more, okay? Hindi natin, of course, pipilitin na makapag-come out ka agad-agad. So, pakonti-konti siya, okay? And then somehow you will see that people around you, you know, there are actually people around you who will support you. Okay, basically, for that question, you surround yourself with people who can support you or who won't judge you. Next, tama bang sinusuppress yung nafe-feel para lang makapag-function well sa mga dapat gawin? There are some times that yes, we need to suppress our feelings, especially if there is some important task that we have to do. However, there should also be a time for you to release these feelings. Hindi lang dapat suppress ng suppress. Oo, pwede tayong mag-suppress if, for example, you are feeling sad. However, you have a reporting to do. Hindi naman pwedeng habang nagre-reporting ka, umiiyak ka. Right? Kaya, you schedule a time wherein you are able to release that sadness, you are able to release that feeling, okay? Because, again, if you bottle it up, bigla na lang may time na sasabog ka. Okay? So, ganon. To. Paano po pag may emotional support ka naman po, pero di mo mafe-feel na meron kang support? Okay. This is what we call, you have your own expectations, however, that expectations are not met. So you have to adjust in a sense that you meet halfway, or you tell those people the kind of support that you actually need. Kasi iba-iba naman ang mga tao, okay? There are some people that they show support, no, in one way, pero ikaw hindi mo na-feel or ganun. And you tell that person, okay, na, hey, this is the kind of support sana that I want. Okay? Let us be more open with the people in our lives, okay? We communicate the things that we need from them, okay? However, make sure that it's two-way. Okay, next. Ways to cope with social anxiety. Is there ways to help to manage without actually getting professional help and medication? Okay. For this one, for coping, specific ways of coping with social anxiety, once again, uh, kindly attend the webinar next Saturday. Are there ways to manage without actually getting professional help and medication? If it is not yet severe, then yes, you can. Um, you have to feel it kasi kapag nafe-feel mo that it disrupts your everyday life, if it disrupts the important things that are going on in your life, for example, for you guys, yung school, kapag nakikita nyo nang nagdi-disrupt, I highly recommend you guys to get professional help. Now, if for example, sabihin nyo, ma'am, hindi ko pa naman afford yung medication or siguro hindi natin afford yung therapy kasi medyo may kamahalan din yon, why not try counseling? For counseling, no, we can do that at CCSD, okay? Aside from me, there are also other SDFs who can talk to you, okay? If, for example, you're a girl, you're more comfortable with a girl counselor, meron tayo. If you are a guy, you are more comfortable with a guy counselor, meron din naman tayo. We can always arrange if you have any specifics. Pero yun, as much as possible, we get help if we are not able to manage it already. Ito. How about po if for an instance, stable naman mental health mo, but the people around you are very emotional in a way po. Like, if friends are depressed or anxious, you want to help them, but along the way, you realize that you're getting soft in the hole po, parang ganon. Okay. But you really want to help them. How can you deal with that po? This is like, of course, if you give and you give, mapapagod ka, right? So, if for example, you keep taking care of your friends who are maybe depressed or anxious, along the way, you will really get tired. Okay? That's why you have to rest. You also need some time for yourself to recover. Okay? Um, to replenish naman yung energy mo, yung care at saka yung love na pinibigay mo sa iyong mga friends. So, hindi lang pwede na inaalagaan mo lang yung friends mo, you also have to take care of yourself. So, there should also be some time um, that you designate for yourself na maybe wala yung friends mo. Parang it's a date with yourself lang. Okay? Ito. What if my cause of anxiety is school po or teacher mismo? Paano po ma-overcome yun? Kailangan ko po mag-aral. Okay. Kaya nga we have to also manage our reactions, no? Or for this one kasi, usually what we target is the mindset. Okay? The mindset why the school or your teacher is the cause of your anxiety. Kasi these are factors wherein you cannot erase or you cannot remove. So again, sa mindset natin siya kailangang ma-overcome. Uh, for this YouTube participant, I highly recommend you to um, maybe message me later on or next week kapag um, sa classes ninyo. Maybe we could talk about it more. Okay, kasi I cannot specifically tell you how to overcome without knowing your background. Yan pala guys ha, ang mahirap din kapag mental health, no? We really have to look at the background of the person. Family background, we look at the personal background, yung mga ganon. Because each person has a different background. That's why each person may experience things on different levels or experience things differently. Ito. Pag continuous medication po ginagawa, may chance pa din po ba na babalik yung depression? Yes, there's still a chance. There can be a time that the medication doesn't work already because your body is getting used to it. What doctors do is they try to change the medication or they change the dosage of the medication. Um, Ganun siya. Mix and match siya of different medicines. Aside from that, hindi kasi agad-agad din hindi agad-agad nag-e-effect yung medicine. So, for example, hindi naman 1 week na nagme-medicine ka, okay ka na kaagad, you're feeling okay. Sometimes it would really take a few months in order uh, for the medicine to have the effect. Okay, ito. Ask ko lang po kung ano advice ni Ma'am Carol sa mga tao na tinatago nilang sad sila pero deep inside super sad and lonely nila. Or minsan yung iba suicidal, yung parang ang happy niya sa panlabas pero deep inside ang sad pala niya. Okay. There needs to come a time na you also have to acknowledge, no, that you are feeling sad. Kasi, we like putting on a mask, we like putting on a facade. However, it gets tiring, okay? Sometimes, it would really take a toll on you. So, an advice for that is to find people who you can trust, okay? You find people whom accepts you, okay? So that from time to time, you are able to show this sadness, okay? Kasi in reality, hindi naman talaga lahat tayo masaya all the time. Okay? There are times that yeah, we get sad or we get lonely. Now for the suicidal part, I highly encourage you to tell someone about it. Okay? I hope you don't just keep it to yourself. Okay? you tell someone because there are instances, no, even way back in both schools, UB tsaka SLU, we've had an instance before that the counselor from SLU contacted us in UB. Bakit? Because they have students na pumunta sa guidance office ng SLU kasi nababother sila kasi yung friend nila suicidal daw. Now, wala silang magawa or walang magawa yung guidance counselor ng SLU kasi taga-UB yung estudyante. So, they don't have jurisdiction at University of Baguio. So, what did they do? They contacted us at UB and then we contacted the parents naman of that student. So it's really good that sometimes no we tell our friends about the things that are going on, especially if it's suicidal, for them to help us or for them to look for people who can help us. Okay? Ito, what can you say ma'am sa mga taong stress eaters like hindi talaga nagsasabi ng problema, kain na lang talaga. Di ba nakaka-bother yun? Uh, in some sense, yeah, it's nakaka-bother. Especially if it's becoming unhealthy. Okay, lalo na kung yung food na kinakain niya, yun nga, it's not healthy. Okay, what can you say? Guys, ayun. You look for people who you can tell your problems to. You have your family. Kung sabihin natin, oo, hindi naman lahat napagsasabihan yung family nila, your friends. If walang friends, CCSD is always open for you. If you're still shy, for some people, what they do is they write it. They write all of their problems and um, writing really helps as well. It helps us, there's what we call catharsis. It helps us release all of these emotions, okay? All of these emotions that we have been hiding, no? Or yung mga emotions na sinasarili natin. Aside from that, you look for ways, aside from stress eating, to release your stress. Marami yan. For others, we recommend them to walk. Okay? Find a physical activity that suits you. For others, yun nga, writing. Yung iba naman, they do a hobby. There was a student before, basketball. Okay? Yung mga ganon. Okay. Wait lang. Nasaan na ang ating... Okay, ito. Okay. Rio, he has a question here. Would you have recommended a mental health break po? Since most schools had it, but sadly our university didn't. Now, personally, ang hirap sagutin nito, Rio. Okay? Baka kasi may mga nanonood na nasa taas. Hindi ko na lang po sasagutin yan. Sa iba na lang tayo. What if po yung mismong mga people around you, yung mismong parang nagda-down sa'yo, though hindi direct na sinasabihan ka, parang ramdam mo na ganun, pero pagkausap mo sila, parang okay lang naman. Ano po pwede gawin? Are you sure that these are really the people that are putting you down? Do you have an actual proof? Because sometimes, no, this can be just going on in our minds, okay? So if there's no actual proof that these people are putting you down, then I hope you stop thinking about it. You stop making it a problem. However, if you feel that, yeah, these people around you, maybe these are your so-called friends, you know, may evidence ka na, yeah, they are the people na nagda-down sa'yo, then maybe it's about time to, you know, change. Maybe it's about time to change your circle. Okay? Okay. Ano pong difference ng grief at depression? And pwede po bang ma-develop sa depression ang grief? Grief is actually, I mean, depression is actually one of the signs or one of the stages of grief. Okay? When you are undergoing through grief, yeah, you can feel depressed. Tapos pwede ba ma-develop sa depression yung grief? Yes, it can also be developed. Ito. Ah, paano po ang magandang gawin o sabihin sa kaibigan over the internet or pag medyo malayo sila, kaya hindi mapuntahan tapos nagpa-panic attack or nagme-mental breakdown po sila? Okay. Nang kasalukuyan. So, at the moment kasi, when a person is having a mental breakdown or panic attack, I'm not sure, no, I cannot guarantee that they can check their phones. What you can do is to contact someone who is there, someone who is with that person who is undergoing panic attack or mental breakdown, so that they can be there for that person. Okay, so you contact either their family members or someone who is close within the area. Okay? There. Kasi parang pag nagpa-panic attack or nagbe-breakdown, I hope you don't tell the person, hey, it's gonna be okay. We go away from that, ha? Let's first deal with stabilizing yung person. Okay? Now, if you're really far, then what you do is you contact someone. Because sometimes if a person is having a panic attack, hindi yan nakakapag-isip. Okay? Hindi siya nakakapag-isip ng maayos. Okay? So you stabilize first the breathing, the heartbeat, you give them water, you give them yung brown bag, yung mga ganon. If you are with that person. Okay, what can we do sa mga taong ayaw talaga magpatulong or i-admit na hindi talaga sila okay kahit halata naman po? This one, we cannot force people to seek help if they do not want. Sadly, that is the case. Kung ayaw nilang magpatulong professionally, then you just be there for them. You show them their support. Let's not force them because the more that you force them, the more that they don't want. Okay? Hopefully, there comes a time that they will ask for help. So maybe you could just prepare maybe a list of people they can go to professionally kapag ready na sila. Okay? Pero yun nga, sadly, hindi natin sila pwedeng pilitin. Even in our office, there are cases na they are either referred by a teacher, for example. Tapos, when you talk to them, hindi rin naman sila magsasalita because for them, they're not ready to seek help. They're not ready to receive help as well. So, you just make them feel that you are there for them and that anytime they can go back to you, they can ask for your help. Okay, here is another question. Paano po yung gusto mo maging positive everyday, but the people around you negative sila sa'yo? And di ka pinapaniwalaan or against sila sa'yo? Okay. Ang hirap din pong nag-open up during the day. Pero kapag mag-isa ka na lang ulit or nahiwalay ka ulit sa friends mo during the night, umaatake na naman yung sadness. I guess, wait lang, these are two different questions pala. So let's first go to paano po kung gusto mo maging positive every day, but the people around you, negative sila sa'yo at di pinapaniwalaan or against sila sa'yo. It's a matter of mindset. Okay? It's a matter of, even though the things around you, no, are negative, okay, you should have that positive mindset in a sense na it doesn't affect you. Okay? It doesn't bother you. Okay? Again, it goes back to mindset. Tapos yung hindi ka pinaniniwalaan or against sila sa'yo, in what factors are this? Kay Anon, magbigay ka na lang ng follow-up question doon. Okay, ito. Ang hirap din nag-open up during the day. Pero kapag mag-isa ka na lang ulit or nahihiwalay ka sa friends mo during the night, umaatake na naman yung sadness, nag-iisip ka na naman ng malalim. Ano pong pwedeng gawin sa mga situations na ganon? Okay. During the night, if for example there is someone you could talk to, then talk to that person. If there is no person to talk to, maybe you could write it. Okay, you could write it out, or you could look for a distraction, a positive distraction. So, emphasis on positive distraction. Wag po tayong maghahanap ng distraction that would make our situations worse, okay, or add up to the stress or to the negative feelings that we are already feeling. So, there. Okay. Are there any more questions?
Ma'am, I think that would be the last question na po.
Mm-mm. Okay. If for example there are some of you guys who feel like they need someone to talk to, kindly visit na lang the CCST Facebook page. Nakapin doon yung post ng services that we offer. And one of that is online counseling. So there is a Google form for that. Okay, so you just fill out that Google form. Tapos kapag dentistry naman, ako yung nagko-contact. So I will be contacting you din when I see your request. So the Facebook page of our office is UB Center for Counseling and Student Development.
Ma'am, sorry po, pero may humabol pong question.
Yes, it's okay. Ano yun?
Paano daw po pag mahina talaga ang mindset ng tao po?
Kapag mahina ang mindset ng tao, mindset can be, pwede siyang ma-improve. It takes really a lot of practice. Hindi yung, for example, you've been having or you've been trying to have a positive mindset for 1 week, tapos feeling mo that's gonna be enough. No, it would really take a long period of time, okay, for you to be able to really instill that mindset. Aside from that, let's also be forgiving of ourselves if, for example, there comes a time na bumabalik tayo sa old mindset. Okay? Yeah, it's normal that we go back to our old mindset. Just make sure that you go back to the new one, no, or to the positive one that you have been working on. Okay? You just try to do it day by day, take it one day at a time, step by step siya. Okay, so there.
Yun. Thank you, Ma'am Carol, for answering the pahabol question. So, guys, studentistas, I'm sure we still have unanswered questions, but I hope we all have learned something. And for personal unanswered questions, like Ma'am Carol mentioned, you may contact the CCSB and ayun, they will give you or they will counsel you personally na lang para hindi tayo nagkakahiyaan sa mga ganitong platforms. Ayun. So, may we now call on our Supreme Student Council representative, Riva Lapau, to award the Certificate of Appreciation to our guest speaker, Ma'am Carol.
Good po. So this certificate of appreciation is hereby awarded to Ma'am Carol Manalo for sharing her expertise as a resource speaker during the webinar entitled Mental Health Support Webinar Series Part 1. Topics: Stress, Depression, and Anxiety, held this 28th day of November 2020. Your presence has led to the accomplishment of the university's objectives and fulfillment of its mission in providing balanced quality education. Signed by the UB President, Engineer Javier Herminio Bautista.
Okay, before we end, um, so the next part of our webinar is everyone is obliged to sign a simple survey regarding our webinar. So this is about the points or the things that we need to improve or adjust for our next webinar. So the link will be sent here in our Google Meet chat box or yung mga nasa my YouTube live, just click the comment section. So please take time to answer it because it will be our basis for your individual certificates. Okay, I repeat, the links will be sent here in the Google Meet chat box or in the comment section of our YouTube live. So thank you. You have 5 minutes po to answer.
hope everyone is still here. And for the last part of our program, may we call on our governor, Mark Nelson Ines, to give us a few words of goodbye.
Good afternoon, everyone, students of School of Dentistry. Um, I'd like to start by thanking the Lord who has shown His great plan and guidance for making this event successful, despite of our current situation, and to Ma'am Carol Manalo na sobrang patient for us to entertain every detail ng questions natin. And actually, she devoted her time and share her knowledge and skills to enlighten us about our mental health and status. To our Dean na nasa YouTube Live, and to our faculty members, kay Ma'am Utsig na nandyan, and to our staff and sa inyo, officers, and the rest of the students. This would not be made possible without you. And we have achieved so much in time. We have been here and gained a lot ourselves too. This event is finished, of course, but it doesn't really stop here. And I think this is the right time to announce that we will be having part 2 of our event on December 5, 2020, which is next week, Saturday. I know I've enjoyed and learned today enormously, and I hope you all have too. Once again, I would like to thank everyone who has put a lot of effort to make this event a fruitful one. And stay safe, and see you next Saturday for our part 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Gov. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Kay.
Hello.
Nood kayo next Saturday.
Okay, so thank you again, Gov, for your speech. So, kung nandyan pa kayo lahat, paggalaban niyo yung baso. Char. So, on the end, our very meaningful and memorable webinar, let us feel the loving presence of God with this prayer. So, of course, we need to watch out pa rin sa ating not just mental health but also our spiritual health. So, let's end this successful webinar with this simple prayer. So, dear God, as this webinar come to an end, we thank you for your time that you have given us. We thank you for your guidance to fulfill all of our agendas today. And most especially, we thank you for the chance to acquire different and new knowledge from our resource speaker, Ma'am Carol. So help us now to carry this new knowledge and experience in our mind and for us to put this into actions. All this we pray in your most precious name. Amen. So ayun, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you po.
Welcome. Guys, don't forget to answer yung survey ha. May updated form na tayo.
JC on the track, boy.